Welcome to Soul Talks, and today I'm introducing you to Elizabeth Kipp, who is another co-author of Goodness Abounds, which is launching today. Congratulations.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. This is such a joyous occasion, and it's so nice to share this with you and the viewers.
Thank you. And the book is actually a #1 bestseller on Amazon now, so just letting you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I just ordered my copy. Looking forward to reading it. And so I've got to read your story already, which is, the title is Grace and the Kindness of Strangers, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So let's dig into this. Like, why did you write this story?
I live in Lawrence, Kansas, and I was in Hawaii last winter for a workshop, and it's 2 flights to get back from Hawaii, and the only flights happened to be in the afternoon, and so I ended up having to book flights from the afternoon clear until the following morning. So I was going to be on a plane, 18 hours or something, basically flying somewhere or waiting in the airport. Mm-hmm. I got to California and I felt quite ill. I had a fever, and I was in one terminal and I had to walk to another. And I got out of the airplane, and there was a man right there to guide me to, there's the terminal you need, which was beautiful. And then I started walking to the terminal, and I couldn't find, there were no electric carts anywhere. I just kept walking and realizing that I was going to be fine. I'd get there, and if I really needed an electric cart, there would be one there for me, right? So I took some responsibility for getting my own self to where I needed to go. And when I was really ready to just sit down and take a rest, what happened? An electric car showed up. A man stopped and said, would you like a ride? I'm like, great. And he took me to the other terminal. Then I was just about to get on the airplane, the next flight, which would have meant I would have been up all night, sick with a fever. And I had texted a friend, and they said, well, you could just spend the night here, right, in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know. And anyway, so I thought, well, that means I'm going to have to cancel my ticket and have to buy a new ticket, and that'd be kind of expensive. Plus, I've got to pay for the room. And anyway, so I went to the ticket people I went for help over at the ticket counter, and right there at the gate, and he gave me a new ticket for the next morning for free. He just gave me one for the other, and helped me get a room at the nearest hotel, which had a room, and there I went. So all the things I was worried about, I was fine. I got sleep. I drank a lot of water, and I got a good sleep, and I get up the next morning, no fever, ready to go. And no problem. So,
it's very good.
It was interesting to me to be alone, traveling alone, a woman, and getting help when I needed it. It was, and especially, nowadays, there's a lot of finger pointing from women at men, and I'm here to tell you that there's some really beautiful men out there. So every single person that helped me was a man. Mm-hmm. So just just to throw a little bit of sparkle on top of all that, it's a good world out there too. Mm-hmm. So
that's the whole point of this book, right? To look around for the goodness in other people and not looking for the bad stuff. That's awesome. So how did it make you feel?
It made me feel more comfortable when I travel. It doesn't mean that I don't keep my eyes open. It doesn't mean that. It means that I felt more comfortable and I felt held. I mean, I knew that I would get help. It's this grace. This is what grace is. When we're held. Right? We're on this, in this world. We're on the planet. The planet's spinning around in space. There's all this going on. You know what? Stop the world, I want to get off. We couldn't get off if we wanted to. We're in it, right? So we're held all the time. We just forget.
Oh yeah, maybe we can talk more about grace. I have a feeling you have more you could tell us about it. Maybe you have other stories. Maybe you can think of something on
Plenty of stories.
off the cuff.
I do. I was told by a doctor a long time ago, this is almost a trademark story for me, that I would be in pain 24/7 for the rest of my life. And I cried. I started crying. I broke down. I didn't know what to do. And here I'm a trained scientist.
Did he have a diagnosis?
Yeah, I had a break in my back, and it was pulling on the nerves, and they tried to fix it surgically, and they couldn't, and there was more pain, and that was the answer. That was just the answer, and a lot of the doctors said that. Anyway, so I got upset because I believed him, and so that was it was not just a diagnosis, it was a prognosis. Right? So I can believe a diagnosis, but not necessarily buy into a prognosis, right? Anyway, at that point in my life, I did. I went home. I cried for 2 weeks straight. I knew there was something missing there, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. I knew there was an answer. I went through all the stages of grief that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about, except the last one. I never accepted that prognosis. Instead, I had an epiphany. That man is not a fortune teller. That doctor is operating in a scientific paradigm, and paradigms shift. And in that moment, I empowered myself into my own healing. And that was when grace came in, because science lives in this framework, in this places that are measurable, right? But we live in all it is, which is bigger than science, right? And the healing happens here, and the grace is here.
It's like how there's light, like different colors of light, and what we can see and even detect is only a small bit of everything.
Yeah,
and then like
exactly.
how there's the whole physical universe, reality, and everything, and then that's just the tip of the iceberg of like consciousness that gives rise to it.
Yes, exactly. Right. So anyway, I stopped ceding my power to the doctors. I mean, I think I shifted the equation the way I was raised is you give all your power to the doctors. They're the ones that heal. And in that moment, I realized, wait a minute, doctors can set a bone, but they can't tell the body how to heal. That's my job.
That's
right?
right. And also the doctor's training teaches them that they heal people, but not that the body heals itself. And
yes.
So we really have to realize that.
Yeah. So anyway, that to me, that is my grace story.
Very good. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably like to introduce you to some other people who healed themselves too, where the doctor told them something, and then, you know, in each story, it may differ how quickly they decided to disbelieve what the doctor said. Because some people did it right away. It depended on their mindset that they'd already gotten to. And like with yours, you believed him at first and then realized that you shouldn't believe him. Anyway, so I've started to make a list of those. I've heard 3 of them so far, just starting this series of Soul to Soul Talks, and we've only done about 10 or 11 so far.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I've got a podcast that I'm working on called Real Voices Living Beyond Chronic Pain. Which is a series, I've got about 15 interviews so far. It's a series of people that have all lived in chronic pain and healed beyond it and are living, you know, without suffering today. And
Okay.
so that we can actually see examples of that in the world, right? Just like your friends who they were told one thing and they were able to move beyond that diagnosis. You get a diagnosis, but the prognosis is not
That's really great that you're doing that podcast. Well, what inspired you to do that, or why do you?
My own story, and the fact that I was in chronic pain for 40 years, and I found a way out, and there were others that found it with me, and we've got 25% of us in this country and in North America have chronic pain, including 25% of the children.
Oh, I'd love to hear about what kind of chronic pain that people have. So, like the one from who you've interviewed so far, what kind of things are they?
This is what's important. Chronic pain, the definition, any pain at all, physical, emotional, spiritual, it's all the same to the brain. Any pain that's felt 15 days out of 30 for 3 months or more is chronic.
Okay.
So, we lose somebody and we grieve and it hurts and we grieve for more than 3 months, we've got a chronic pain. So we've got 25%, the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, estimates 25% of the entire population of the U.S. is in chronic pain, 1 in 6 in the world, and that includes children. Right, so we've got a chronic pain epidemic in this country, and it's being treated with opiates, which don't work, and we're not addressing it. And I say the model's backwards. We're ceding our power to the doctors and forgetting that
the power is within, and the body heals itself, and you can.
Yeah, we just have to get out of its way, right? We have to get out of its way. Yeah.
I watched a video on it this morning with what's his name, one of the gurus. Oh yeah, Sadhguru. He's not a sad guru, he's a happy guru. Oh yeah, it's this one. Sadhguru, do this every day to heal your body from within. And that's what someone said who he was talking with. That oh yeah, I think he was talking with a doctor, and like this lady said, yeah, in our training they don't tell us that the body heals itself.
Oh really? That's a doctor who said they don't tell him that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also in a different video I watched of his today, just this morning, he said the biggest industries are weapons and drugs and alcohol combined, and then pharmaceuticals. So we definitely should do something about it. So good for you for doing something about it. Let's definitely let's subscribe to your podcast and share it. What's your podcast called again?
Oh, I'm still preparing it. I haven't quite got it. It's called Real Voices Living Beyond Chronic Pain, but I still have to implement it. I'm still waiting to I've got the interviews. I'm waiting to take the training to do the podcast part. So,
okay.
Technical skill.
Okay, good. Well, at least you're in the process of it. So, but that's what it will be called.
Yes.
Living Beyond Chronic Pain.
Real Voices Living Beyond Chronic Pain. Real Voices.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what kind of things did people heal themselves from that you talked with?
We've interviewed people with a food addiction. We've interviewed people that have had ruptured, well, not ruptured disc, but not a rupture. I had a ruptured disc, which I healed from, but
that's very good.
Similar.
I'm glad you did. And
well, yeah, but it took a while. It wasn't just overnight. It took a while. We've had some work also. The nice thing, it in my work, it's like it's all pain is pain. It's all the same. The brain sees it all as the same signal. It hurts. Okay? So it's not so much in the interviews. It's not so much that I get into their specific stories, although I do. I give them that's one of the questions. But it's really about what is it that shifted in them? Where was the shift, and how did they do that, right? And what are they doing? What things are they doing now to maintain that, right? How do you deal with life, with the stresses and strains of life in such a way that you don't add to your burden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the meditation is part of it. Outlook. There's a lot of different pieces of that. Part of it, just getting out of the way and realizing grace is here.
And you're actually an expert at this, because in the introduction at the beginning, I didn't do any bio, but your short bio in Goodness Abounds is that you're a health facilitator in stress and chronic pain management, and that you successfully recovered from chronic pain, and that you guide people into greater health, more ease and peace, and that you're experienced in stress management, calming anxiety, and resolving conflict. Would you like to elaborate any more, or like tell us about your gift of healing or overcoming pain?
Well, I thank you for that. I have a website, elizabeth-kipp.com, KIPP.com, elizabeth-kipp.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of writing a book called The Way Out, Crack the Code of Chronic Pain and Discover a Thriving Life, which is almost done. I hope to have it done by the end of the year. Tell a little bit about my story, but more importantly, talk about the tools that we use, why we are the way we are, why we even get chronic pain in the first place, and then how to move out of it. The way out, right? Is a prison for those of us that have experienced it. Doctors don't know what to do.
Sorry, could you say that again? There was a truck going by and I didn't mute myself, and then I couldn't hear you.
No worries. Chronic pain is a prison for those of us that are in it. Doctors don't know how to treat it. Most doctors don't know how to. Some doctors do, but not many. Sadhguru knows how to do it. The yogis knew, and I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. That's one of the things I bring to the table with yoga, because that's part of the solution. But it's a prison, and is that feedback coming from here or you? I'm hearing some feedback. Are you hearing it?
No, I'm not hearing it.
Okay. All right.
I wanted to say last Friday I did a purpose and gifts call. Actually, we did it. It was a group thing, and we actually had 5 mentors on it and helped one person. And then we only had to help them for a half hour. And so then the other half, we worked with one of the mentors of the group. He and I started the thing. We talked for the first time a few days before that, and then decided to get started helping people step into their purpose. Because that's what matters to me, and I procrastinated on it for years. And so when I talked with him, he wanted to find his purpose. I said, I'll see if I can help, right? And maybe I can introduce you to people too, because I connected with lots of people who can help you with your soul purpose, right? He liked that. We talked, and then whatever you want to receive, you learn how to give it and start giving that thing. Like Neil Donald Walsh said this: if you're a seeker of something, go from being the seeker of it to the source of it for other people. And it's like putting jam on toast for people, right? Like you can't help but get some on yourself. So if you're the source, then you realize you could be the source for yourself too, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that would be a good gift to give to him, and work together like that. And so he did a healing thing. We did a healing thing with him. So then I've called it Purpose and Gifts Healing Group or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Now we do it every Friday. We only started last Friday, but yeah.
That's cool. So one of the things that I do is this thing called ancestral clearing, which would help if someone had a block around what their purpose is. This could help clear that, right? So because we come in, and science is actually validating the point. We come in with the burden of our ancestors. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Oh, you muted yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I muted myself and then I said, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So yeah, I could hear you, but it just faded out for a second. I'm not sure why. It may be when a truck goes by, and that's why I have to mute myself.
Oh, okay. So we come into into this life with the burden of our ancestors. And if there's a pattern, if we notice a pattern in our life, and we're not quite sure where it came from, it wouldn't be surprising. I can't make claims, but it wouldn't be surprising if it had an ancestral component. And ancestral clearing helps remove that debris, that burden that we carry. So it's an interesting healing modality. It's not well known, but it's very powerful. And so anyway, so we work on purpose a lot. We work on.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad to know that. So then we should talk more about that too, because it matters to me a lot to help people along their path of purpose. I've told some stories about my path of purpose. Like one time, see, this is just to show how much it matters to me, right? One time I was here in Mexico in the same place, and at night I started to record this thing. I don't know what I'd already created throughout the day. I'm also writing a book called Anyone Can Create. But anyway, that evening I started to tell this story about how I got onto this path of purpose, or how it deepened or whatever. And it's called Evolution of a Path of Purpose. It took about 8.5 hours, or I'm not sure, but basically I was up through the whole night and got it done. And then it can turn into something else, but it's the first draft, right? And then like when I did this book earlier this year, like I wrote 2 chapters in co-authored books this summer. So there's the one that we're featuring today, which we don't have the book. I just ordered it. I look forward to actually holding it in my hand, right? But anyway, this one I got shipped here to Mexico, and then I got to hold it, and that's what I wrote about in that one. So that was preparation, because it takes a lot of editing to get it down to the right length. Mm-hmm. Did you find that? Did you find that with your chapter here?
Oh, wow. Yes, but what's hilarious is I'm an editor. So that was the thing that was so interesting, was to write the story. So I just wrote the story, and then I brought my editing skills in and just started cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting, and you know, we ended up with a very the essence, right? The essence with no fringe around it. Mm-hmm. Just the essence, right? That's what happens when we have just one paper.
Yeah.
And a whole adventure you're trying to, but it's all right. Yeah, it's hard work. The editing is a skill, and I've done it for decades, so it's.
Oh yeah, it was really tough for me.
It's hard to edit my own work. I have to say, it's hard for me to edit my own work.
Yeah, because you don't want to part with parts of it, right? It's like, this is my art. It's like, that's my story. That's what I want to tell. But then it's like, no, the length is half of what you've written, right? So.
Well, there's that, but there's also they're my words. I wrote them, and I don't see mistakes because I wrote them. I see other people's mistakes. I don't see my own, right? So that's another thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, that's great. Good for you. I'm excited for your work. We need that.
Thank you.
It's hugely important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And I should ask you why you do what you do.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I'll tell you, I was on medication for a long time. I went in and went into a center and into a treatment center in order to get off of it, because I've been on it for so long. And a counselor said to me, 80%, there's an 80% relapse rate. And I looked at her, and the first thing I said in my head was, I'm doomed. Like I won't succeed, right? Mm. And that I'm going to relapse. And that's, you don't want that, right? And the second thing I said was I started as a social scientist, what's wrong with this model? that we're only getting a 20, at best, we're getting a 20% success rate. What's wrong with the model? And in that moment, I said to myself, if I survive this program, getting off this medication, which I did, I'm gonna dedicate my life to trying to take that up just a notch in terms of better relapse. That we're not going to have so much relapse out there. So that was the mission.
What's relapse?
That means when you've been a drinker or an alcohol drinker and you've quit, right? You're an alcoholic and you quit and you go back to drinking. That's a relapse. When you've been on medication and you stop and then you go back, that's a relapse. So
this was medication.
We're talking about addiction, right? I was on medication long enough that I was addicted. Now I was on prescription medication. The doctors wrote all the scripts. I took the medication as ordered, but I was still an addict, right?
Okay. And this was related to your chronic pain? This was with the back injury?
That was all they knew. Yeah, that was all they knew. That's all they knew to treat it was with pain medication and anxiety. That's all they knew. That's all they still know. Pretty much most of it.
Okay.
That's why it's one of the reasons we've got an opiate crisis in this country.
Yeah. Okay. So then there's like two things, right? One of them is treating the thing in the first place differently, which would be a great thing. And the other one is if they do take the prescriptions, then how to get off the prescriptions, how to get unaddicted so that you don't have to keep taking them or you go back to taking them.
Well, we hope we don't stay on them long enough to even be addicted, but we've got to, if the doctors are going to take responsibility, the medical community is going to take responsibility of bringing this stuff in to the system, they better have a plan to get people out safely. That's my position. So, we need to switch things up, and they need to understand when a chronic pain patient walks into their office, they need to say, we'll just treat the pain with pain medication. They need to say, what do you need to do to heal the pain? Like, why are you in pain in the first place? They don't look at the person as a whole person. So we need to change the paradigm.
Yeah. I think that's the most important part.
Yes.
Sure. There's both, but I'd say, I mean, I wouldn't dedicate your life to the part about the relapse. I'd go more to like changing that whole system rather.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the idea, is to let's start at the beginning and stop it in the first place.
Yeah. What's causing the pain? Not just like numb the pain and do nothing else about it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for doing that. I look forward to talking with you again. Maybe we'll have you on the show again. I'd sure love to if you'd be open to it.
Oh, I love it. We've got a lot in common.
All right, awesome. That's probably all we should do for today to keep the time, reasonable. Great talking with you. Great to meet you, and good luck with the rest of the book launch.
Very good.
And healing.
Great collaborating with you so much. Many thanks. Many blessings.
Thank you. Pleasure talking with you. Okay, bye for now.